Hello everyone, Jester Bell is back, and I finally watched the Birds of Prey movie. Give me a medal. Those of you who have maybe been following me for a while on this channel or on Twitter might know that I have it kind of out for this movie. Because I saw it, I did not see it in the theater. I saw it as a character assassination for Harley and the Birds of Prey in it, and I really was against this movie. From the very first day I saw the title, The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Please. But I have HBO Max. I've had it for a little bit now, and it's free on there. And it was enough time away from the movie. I'd seen parts of it on YouTube before, but I was like, I might as well just sit down out of curiosity and just watch this movie. It's not that long, actually. And nothing about it really changed my mind about it. I don't think it's a good movie at all. I think it's pretty terrible, actually. But let's get into that and let's talk about how I actually feel. Now, I know you're going over, you're hearing from someone who's already biased against this movie. I can have my mind changed, though. I was very biased against the Joker movie when it was going to come out, because I didn't think Joker should have an origin, and that's what the movie was portraying itself about, and I saw very clearly that this was just people taking the Joker's name to sell their own original movie, and which it was, but I was changed in as much as that was a very good movie in the end of the day. I would recommend anyone watch, well, if any adult watch Joker. It is a very good movie, so I can have my mind changed if the property turns out really good, and if it just changes what my expectations were, but this movie did not. So this movie is, I would refer to it as kind of a hodgepodge. It's basically Harley Joker has broken up with Harley. That is a key, and we will get to that. Harley has not broken up with Joker. Joker has broken up with Harley. So it's basically Harley, after she hears some friends making fun of her for being too dependent on Joker, makes a big statement to everyone that, no, I'm free from him, we're done, by basically blowing up Ace Chemicals, which leads all the people that she's done horrible things to come after her. Meanwhile, there's these other women in Gotham who have their own trials and tribulations that they're trying to overcome, and they all kind of mesh together during this film in this kind of wacky runaround movie where Roman Sionis is trying to get revenge on Harley, and he has connections to the other women in the film, and they all just are kind of these various women throughout Gotham who come together because of this coincidence, I would say. Does that sound boring or bad or just kind of jumbled together? Well, it is. The premises other places they give a much more cohesive premise for the movie, but saying that it's a girl gang, it's about the Birds of Prey coming together, it's about these women who have this man in common, Roman Sionis, who they have to overcome and team up together to overcome. That just makes it sound a lot more cohesive and put together than this movie. Because it's basically a movie that wants to be about Harley Quinn, but it can't be because it doesn't seem to think that she has enough character or story to make up a movie, so it throws in these other female characters. Importantly, it's not a team-up movie. This kept being advertised as a team-up movie, but once again, it's the characters, none of the women in this movie really form relationships with each other. For example, Black Canary just kind of bumps into Cassandra Cain, tries to help her out with just giving her some money, and then ends up getting robbed by her, which, makes them go their separate ways for that time. Huntress is barely in the movie. Renee Montoya is basically only connected to Black Canary, just trying to get her to help her on a case, which we barely see them in the same scene together. Harley has no connection. The movie was sold on the fact that this is Harley getting her girl gang. She has no connection to the Birds of Prey in this movie. They don't like her, she doesn't like them because she's an awful criminal. The only two characters in this movie who form a bond are Harley and Cassandra Cain because they spend an afternoon together. I'm going to get more to that in a minute because I want to talk about the motivations behind this movie that I see and why it makes me really, really not like the movie, but I want to talk a little bit more about the movie itself before I get to that. It's a very weird aesthetic. It's like, it's like they try a bunch of different things. There's a bit of a 90s aesthetic in there. There's a little bit of a 60s aesthetic in there. And it's like they try a lot of different things in this movie with what the characters are wearing and how it's colored. And it's kind of like when you try to mix all the colors in a rainbow together with paint and you think you're going to get something amazing, but it just comes off as brown. This movie looked brown to me because I'm like, you're trying a lot of different things and it's not really working. The movie wants to be non-linear, um, because Margot Robbie and her company, she's the one who produced this film, and she's the one who pitched this film. They want to do movies that are unconventional, but that felt forced here because what the movie does is it wants to tell itself out of order for a while, or at least at certain intervals, basically to make the joke that Harley is scatterbrained, and it absolutely doesn't work. For example, there's a scene where we basically cut from Harley, who's been captured in the last time we saw her, to a scene that's about 4 or 5 minutes long of her basically decimating the Gotham City Police Department. It goes on for a long while, and you're like, how did we get here? And then she's like, oh, wait, I didn't tell you about this yet. We have to go back around. And it wants it to be really funny, but it's very off-putting to me because it's like, I'm not laughing. I'm just frustrated that I've been jumped around at random, saw something pointless, that something maybe I could have enjoyed if I understood how we got there in the first place beforehand, that fight scene. But you told it out of order, so it just made me feel frustrated with the story. It's not making me laugh at Harley, and it seemed a bit pointless. Like, this is the kind of story, like, you don't need to tell it out of order, and it's not really working with that quirky, joke that you're trying to tell. And non-linear stories can absolutely work, but you really have to, you have to know the rules before you break them. You really have to know what you're doing in terms of telling a non-linear story. And Lucky Chap, Margot Robbie's company, did that with I, Tonya. In that movie, it's like we are jumping around a bit in the story, but it's still very cohesive. We have the characters and who they are now in the future, essentially, looking back and telling the events of the past, each from their own perspective. We understand whose perspective it's by, we understand when we're coming from, and what they're talking about, and it's still cohesive even though it jumps itself around, and it's not conventional. This movie it's just like doing it for the sake of doing it. It didn't have any real reason other than to make sure the movie was unconventional and to make the joke that Harley's scatterbrained, and it just makes it a frustrating movie to try to follow, especially when it just kind of forgets that element. It brings in the element that Harley's scatterbrained and this story is told out of order 1 minute to make the joke and try to be quirky, and the next minute it forgets about it, and we're just telling a regular movie story. And that really frustrated me. I didn't think that worked, and it just kind of made the movie a more mundane experience for me, because it's like, this isn't the worst thing I've ever seen. This isn't like Suicide Squad where there's pieces missing. This isn't just a completely incoherent movie that it's just unwatchable. It's just like, well, I'm not really immersed in this movie because there's not a lot of development on any of the characters. It's not told very well, and the story at hand is not at all interesting or compelling. It's just basically there's this diamond that Roman Sionis wants. There's these women who are all related to him and have agreements against him somehow, and they all just come up against him. And even that sounds better than the movie. It really feels like, I don't know if this is the fact behind the scene, but it felt like the movie was just kind of made up as it went along. Like, it feels like, let's get to the premise of what I have a problem with the motivations behind this movie. It feels like this movie was made by Margot Robbie saying, I want to have my own Harley Quinn movie where I can play her and I can do what I want with her and I can go away from the things I didn't like about David Ayer's Suicide Squad. For example, she said that, Daddy's little monster outfit, the sexualization of her character in the movie, doesn't seem to be really what she actually wanted for her. It seems like that's something David Ayer would want. So, she's wearing frumpier clothes in this movie. She's wearing overalls. She's wearing this bird outfit. She's wearing a baggy t-shirt. Harley is a lot sillier in this movie than the violence of Suicide Squad, and I heard about that behind the scenes. Margot wanted Harley to be a little sillier. David Ayer wanted her to be a little darker. Not that they were clashing, just that was a different perspective on it. So it seems like that was the motive behind this movie, that she just wants to have her Harley movie and do what she wants with it. That's where the R rating. By the way, this movie should not be R rated. There's like, it was jarring because when there was an F bomb in the movie, I felt like it was really out of place, but it felt like it was really pronounced and loud, like they were trying to remind the audience, no, this is an R rated movie. When the movie overall feels like it's for 12-year-olds or even 6-year-olds, even little girls liking this movie. It felt like it should have been a direct to streaming movie, just a little thing on the side for people who might like Harley. Um, but that's just kind of what frustrates me about the motive behind this movie, is because was it really about promoting female characters and having a girl gang together? We keep hearing it referenced in the news, all the interviews for this movie, that this is about getting more all female team ups on screen, but this movie is not really an all female team up. They come together at the end based on necessity, and then Renee Montoya says, well, we were amazing together, we should stick together. I'm like, you guys really have not spent much time developing who you guys are or your relationships with each other. It's like the Avengers did it very well, establishing who each character was, and how they had their differences and how they would come together. This movie, it's kind of just tacked on as an obligatory thing in this movie, and it's more concerned with being a silly Harley Quinn film where the Birds of Prey are only there to add bulk to the story. That's exactly what it felt to me. But the characters really are not like themselves in the comics. Black Canary, she's probably the closest, I'd say. Cassandra Cain has absolutely nothing to do with the comics. Renee Montoya is made into a drunk. Huntress, I absolutely despise her portrayal. She is just made to a one-dimensional joke who's overly serious and just a wannabe assassin. And I hate that because I love Huntress's story in the comics. I've loved it since I saw it on the Justice League cartoon. And to take that and to turn it into a joke, you know, that even upsets me more than most people were upset with Cassandra Cain. But a little bit more. I know I'm kind of jumping around, kind of like this movie does in this trailer, but a little bit more behind the scenes. Allegedly, Suicide Squad 2, the plot, there was a variation of that movie where the plot written by Gavin O'Connor was going to be that the Suicide Squad, including Harley, have to rescue a little girl, Cassandra Cain. Apparently, Margot Robbie heard that idea, really liked the idea of Harley rescuing a little girl or befriending her, and took that and put her into her movie. Basically, I guess, making Cassandra Cain into something that would fit with this movie. So that explains, I guess, why Cassandra Cain is completely different in this movie. And that by the way killed that original Suicide Squad 2 plot. But just so much of this just feels like it's just serving Margot Robbie and what she wants to do with the character and her career. It did not, even though in so many interviews they kept making out like this was this important film and promoting women, and I don't see that. And here's the thing about this movie, because it's so badly done, it doesn't look like a comic book movie. It's not a movie for adults. It should not have been R-rated. The characters don't look anything like themselves. It really is more of a chick flick or a little kids movie than, I know that's insulting, but I'll say it. It really is more of that. It just feels like something that's as tone deaf about comic book movies and comic book fans since Catwoman 2004. And because it was released and we got all of this basically sacrificed on the altar that, well, we really want to just have this Harley Quinn movie, now we're probably not going to get any more female team-up movies. We're not going to get Gotham City Sirens because this came in its place. There was rumors that Marvel would do an A-Force movie. You know, that's the reality of how studios look at this. If, you know, Catwoman and Elektra bombed, so then there became the idea that other female superhero-led movies could not do well at the box office, and we didn't get Black Widow. This movie bombs, and the reality is that we're probably not going to get any more female team-up movies. We're not going to get the actual Birds of Prey, that's for sure. And it's just very unfortunate to me, and that's why I really dislike this movie. As a movie itself, I just think it's really mundane and really just kind of stupid and kind of just tone deaf in a lot of the ways. But what really makes me hate this movie is on a meta level, how I see kind of dare I say it, a selfishness behind it, and how you took something that was good, that was empowering the Birds of Prey from the comics. Batgirl is, becoming Oracle is a very empowering story. You took something that meant a lot to people, and you killed it on the altar of your own ego. You took Harley that meant a little bit more to me and to other people, as someone who does represent abuse victims, and you kind of took all that out of the movie. You kind of took all that out of her character in this movie. Once again, Joker is the one who breaks up with Harley, not the other way around. She makes no acknowledgement to how bad he was. The what's the big thing in the movie is she's mad at him because he broke up with her. It's not acknowledging he was physically abusive or anything. It's just, oh, he's the one who broke up with me. She's a wholly reactionary character in this movie who only does things, as a reaction to something else. She only makes that big statement that she's over with Joker to prove, to get back at some people who were talking bad at her. She gives up Cassandra Cain 1 minute because she keeps being attacked by Roman Sionis. She goes to rescue her the next just because circumstances have changed. She's a completely shallow and unlikable character who just kind of does these awful things for the sake of it. I mean, even the plot of the movie, for much of it, is just that she's running from people who she hurt or grievanced in some way who want to get revenge on her. And it's like, well, why is that sympathetic? You're not giving me any human elements to her character that are making me sympathize with her, and she should have those elements. Here's a big thing. If she's an actual character, I should get answers to how does she feel that she gave up her entire life and her sanity for someone who just dumped her? Because the movies never changed it to say, oh, Harley just wanted to become Harley Quinn. Harleen wanted to be Harley Quinn, and she wants to be that to this day. It's her choice. No, the movies made it out that she only became Harley Quinn to be with the Joker. She destroyed her entire life over that. There's nothing that addresses that at all. It's like she's just this wind-up toy that Joker pushed over the edge that now goes around Gotham. And that's not empowering to me at all, that they're trying to make this more of a feminist narrative with that emancipation thing. They referenced her being a psychiatrist once, which I guess was supposed to give her some layers, but it's like, if you're doing nothing with that and you're not exploring the bigger ramifications in that, then that's just meaningless, and she's just a shallow character in this movie. So I really hate this movie because of everything that went on behind the scenes. I hate it how it assassinates these characters. I hate it how it really seemed like an ego trip. But pride comes before a fall because this movie was not successful. I've talked about it enough. Did I like anything about it? I think I mentioned, I think Journey Smollett-Bell actually turned out to be a decent Black Canary. I did kind of like the opening sequence of a cartoon of Harley going throughout her life. I just thought it was kind of ruined by the swear words because, once again, felt like something for kids or all ages, and then it just has R-rated swearing in it. Did not need to happen at all. So that's my 2 cents on the movie. Are you guys pleased to finally hear it laid out that I watched the movie and I still did not like it? Do you agree with my reasons of why I really hate this movie, or what I fill in the blanks of went on behind the scenes? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.